So yeah, we're here to talk about Mike Mills's film Beginners. It was made in 2010, and Mike Mills, the director, he has made a couple other films. His first one was called, I believe, Thumbsucker, and then we have 20th Century Woman, which I heard was very good as well. And then we had Come On, Come On, which released 2021, and it had some hopes for some awards this award season, but it did not get many nominations. But I've heard it was very good. Joaquin Phoenix, another kind of similar. It feels like a slice of life and a more dramatic. Maybe if I looked at his previous filmography before watching, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, it's probably just a drama, but like an artsy indie drama, as seems to be his style. But alas, he was also a music video director. He had a lot of music video credits, and apparently I didn't watch any of them. I didn't do too much research apparently, but yeah, he was music video director, graphic designer. Come on, top tier film. All right, yeah, you've seen it, right, Lisa? Yeah, I've heard great things. Joaquin Phoenix was like in the contention for like best actor at the Oscars or some other awards. So yeah, it had a chance. But Mike Mills, he seems like a cool guy. I watched a few interviews on him. He seems like, the way he speaks, he's a very introspective person. It seems like he's analyzing everything constantly, and he has a very like analytical brain. It makes it feel like he's smarter than everybody, but like not in a pretentious way, that he just sees the world and actively tries to analyze everything as it's coming in. It's like when he talks, he just feels very smart. But yeah, and I think he kind of brings like a very artistic approach to this film, which is nice to see. It's not just like an indie drama, like the way it was all weaved together. And I liked a lot of the sequences that were just like the narration and all the images they use with that. But we'll get to that in a second. I guess lastly about Mike Mills, he got a Best Original Screenplay. I believe it was for 20th Century Woman. Let me give a quick Google. 20th Century Woman. Have you seen that one, Lisa? Have you seen 20th Century Woman? Let me see here. Nominated for one Oscar. I believe that was, yeah. Nominated for Best Original Screenplay for Mr. Mike Mills. But, yeah, it's on your list. It is on my list as well. And it probably will stay there for a while, because my list is probably 500 films long, as every film kid's list is. Okay, so the plot of this film is semi-autobiographical for Mike Mills. It is true that his father, we'll start with his mother, passed away, and then his father came out as gay as well after a long marriage, and then after 5 years, the father passed away as well. And yeah, so there's definitely very clearly connections to his real life. But I also saw in interviews he was saying that the character Oliver is a lot more loose based on him. It's not like very, very autobiographical. He definitely took a lot of creative differences. Yeah, it does make it a little sadder that it actually did happen to him. So, but I think that's what makes it feel so authentic. Like the premise of his father coming out as gay at such a old age is just the way he presented it. It seemed like he had so much insight on the subject, which clearly he actually does. And yeah, it felt like he just took pieces of things that he actually experienced and kind of took like some very important things, some of the feelings that he felt, and tried to just merge it into this story, which is cool. But yeah, that happened to him. I read in a article that he started writing the screenplay about 6 months after his father passed. So he said that it was very like emotional still. He was still in the grieving process, so he used that in part of the writing. So yeah. So semi-autobiographical. Okay, so the plot of this movie, I'll just go over it real quick unless we all forget. So what's his name? Oliver, played by Ewan McGregor. His character had his mother pass away, and then his father came out as gay after that. For the whole time that they were married, he was gay, and he knew he was gay, but he stayed married to the mother. And then in that period after, he was soon after diagnosed with a form of cancer and passed away. I don't know if it was 5 years like he said in real life, but he passed away not too long after. But in that time, he tried to rediscover his life, kind of get out there. He got a much younger gay boyfriend. And then, yeah, Ewan McGregor's character, Oliver, kind of felt like he had to try to connect with this person uh, another time over. Like, he felt like he didn't really know who he was before, and he had to kind of rediscover that. And which seemed to be, I mean, in those moments, it seemed to be, yeah, there's a lot of happy moments, too, of like, oh, he's happy that his father's finally, trying to figure things out. And then, yeah, he passes away. And then after that, I guess we're just going chronologically here because the story is definitely not chronological. After that, you have Ewan McGregor's character getting into a relationship with Anna, Melanie Laurent's character, and them kind of questioning everything and being very sad. They were very sad. They were like, that's one thing. It's like, I guess he's the artsy fartsy graphic designer who's literally making a piece on the history of sadness, but like he's just like he's very unbearably sad this whole time, kind of throughout the whole film. But that is a very loose description of me kind of just spitballing what I remember, a little crude. But yeah, basic plot. I know you watched it, Lisa, so yeah, we'll just we'll get into it. A few of the characters. So Oliver, Ewan McGregor. I love Ewan McGregor, of course. Who doesn't love Ewan McGregor? Obi-Wan Kenobi, my man. That's what he's going to be known for forever. I mean, yeah, I guess there's the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show, so that's never escaping him anytime soon. But yeah, like I said before, I thought his character was very sad the entire time. But he did it very well. He's a great actor, and I think literally everybody in this movie were great actors. There are no performances that really take you out of it, but yeah, we're kind of seeing everything through the perspective of Ewan McGregor's character, and he is a graphic designer, just like Mike Mills was as well. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, when his father came out, and in those moments where it's like his father is trying to be so happy about everything, even after he was diagnosed with the cancer, he was still very upbeat about everything. And Oliver, Ewan McGregor's character, he kept on looking on the dark side of everything. He's like, why are you so happy in this moment? You have cancer. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the root of his character. He took his idea and perception of sadness and tried to make this artistic piece out of this. But I guess in that process, it kind of just encompassed him. I guess he kind of did that after, but still. Yeah, he's a very sad, artistic, introspective character, which, could be like Mike Mills. We'll never know. But clearly there were probably some moments in the movie that were honest to life. I guess we will never know what exactly happened. But yeah, I enjoyed his character. I think he was honestly, he was a standout. I think all the main three were quite standout. Christopher Plummer winning an Oscar for it, but I don't think Ewan McGregor was any lesser of an impact in the movie. So yeah, Christopher Plummer winning an Oscar, the oldest ever man to win an Oscar at the age of 82 for his performance as Hal. And yeah, I mean, he was great. It's just in those moments where you see him finally coming to terms with who he is. And yeah, like we saw in the trailer there, he had that moment of when he's asking Oliver about the nightclub song and what kind of music it was. I think the core emotion of his character was that he's finally free after he came out, and he had so many little moments where he was just like, he had that little smirk on his face. He was like, oh, I'm so happy this is finally happening. And I think that's what moved people the most, probably. What propelled him to this Oscar win. It's like whenever he's with his boyfriend, he has this, chipper mood. But then there's also the depth of, there is some sadness in him as well, because whenever Oliver brings up the mother and everything, he's like, he says, oh, yeah, I love the mother too and everything. And you can see that at this old age, he couldn't afford to, it felt like at this age, he didn't want to and couldn't afford to shed any more sadness on the events that had already happened in his past. So he was like, all right, we know the ship's going down soon. Got to try to be as optimistic as possible. So yeah, there was layers to that, and it worked out well. Anna, played by Melanie Laurent. I know her most from Inglorious Bastards, and just like Ewan McGregor and Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's what I think of every time I see her. This movie vastly different, but yeah, she was great as well. She definitely had her issues, just like Ewan McGregor, and I think that I really did like. It's a very like cute movie. Like the way the couple is presented is very like kind of like, oh, okay. You roll your eyes if you see it in public, then like roller skating down some building, some giant business building and things like that. Going spray painting on a giant billboard. But I really sometimes in movies it's a little roll your eyes and everything. And at the middle I think it kind of got into a bit of that territory, but I was a sucker for the beginning scene where they met at the party and she had lost her voice. Um, ah, that was it was cute done right, and it's like it's I feel bad for saying like, oh, I liked it, because like it was so like it was super like grossly cute, but I guess some people like that, and hey, I can't be heartless forever. So it felt like such a sincerely sweet relationship, so genuine. Yeah, it did feel genuine. And I guess yeah, some real relationships can be roll your eyes cute, but yeah, I really did like that beginning scene where they met at the party, and she couldn't speak, and he tried to translate what she meant the whole time. I guess she had her notepad writing down everything. And his costume, Ewan McGregor's costume, I'm gonna look that up actually. Ewan McGregor's costume at the party. I forget who was he. Freud? I think he was Freud or something. Ewan McGregor. I don't know what to Google search for this. Ewan McGregor beginner's Halloween costume. I'll see if it comes up. Oh yeah, it does come up. It definitely comes up. There we go. That's a wonderful costume. He walks into the party with his dog, smoking his pipe. This is him turning into old Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi. If they don't have this exact look in the new Obi-Wan show as he's aging, I will not watch it. But yeah, I I feel like I'm just repeating the same thing. I really liked that intro sequence. They go off, drive away into the night, drive on some sidewalks, and yeah, that's I think that's what makes this movie as charming as it is. You have all these very sincere, kind of cringy couple moments, and there's a lot of them. It's most of the movie, but the way they do it works very well because you have the Christopher Plummer backdrop and his whole character, and the fractured narrative. I think benefits a lot, because if it was just that the whole time, I feel like it would be very unbearable. But yeah, alas, his costume top tier. Gotta say, would win a costume contest if I was there. Okay, a few other characters I just wanted to touch on. We got Andy, who is Christopher Plummer's character's Hal's boyfriend. I don't know exactly how old he was supposed to be. I think it probably says in the movie, and I just forget. But I think he was supposed to be like probably in his 30s, maybe late 30s or something like that. And yeah, he definitely contrasted Hal. He was very outgoing. He always had this thing where he came in and he had his hands closed. He was like, "Guess what's in my hand? Guess what's in my hand? Oh, it's a caterpillar." Don't know what that was all about, but yeah, he was contrasted to Christopher Plummer, who seemed like more of the reserved old man, who was kind of trying to break out of his shell, and I guess Andy probably helped him a bit with that. But yeah, he was fun. He was fun. He was if you look at it from the perspective of comparing having that as or having, I don't know why I said that, having that kind of relationship instead of the mother-father relationship that Ewan McGregor's character was used to having, that must be a stark difference. And you can kind of see it when he looks in at Andy and his father kind of having these moments. He kind of looks in. You can see that he's definitely happy for his father, but there are moments where I feel like in the performance, how I read into it was he was thinking of his mother and how yes, he is definitely biologically his father and mother's son, and that his father is now kind of moved away from that and kind of makes it feel like that whole relationship, they were just faking it. Well, I guess you can see in the movie as well that it wasn't the most passionate relationship either. That yeah, it just maybe to Ewan McGregor's character felt like a waste for the mother, and that you could just see in his eyes that he was definitely thinking of his mother at some points when Andy was there. But alas, the mother, she as well, she wasn't in it as much as everybody else. Definitely in a bunch of flashbacks, because even in the flashbacks with Christopher Plummer's character, the mom was still dead at that point. So you had to even flash even further back to get any scenes with her. But it was mostly when Oliver was a little kid. And I like the scene where they go to the art exhibit that Hal was putting on, and the mother was looking at the piece, the sculpture, and she was kind of trying to mimic it. I like that. And then they kicked her out. I think, did they kick her out just because she was mimicking it, or because she was his wife and that he didn't want her there? I don't know why she was kicked out, but those are my two thoughts. But yeah, I think there was definitely, she wasn't in it too much, but every time she was in it, you had the scenes of Christopher Plummer's character leaving to go to work, giving her a kiss, and then leaving, and then you just have her sitting there all alone. It was very sad. Every part of this movie, very sad. I also did like the moments where she played with young Ewan McGregor, shooting him and him playing dead. Kind of a little morbid. That the mother and son's little game that they play is her literally shooting him and him playing dead and flopping over. But it was fun. It was another one of those cute moments that you never know. Maybe Mike Mills did that with his mother. One last character that I did want to talk about is not human. The last character that I would like to speak about is named Arthur, and it's the little dog. The little dog. This picture makes his eyes look a little crazy, kind of like they're popping out of his head. But you could say that the character of Arthur definitely had a big part to play. It was played by the canine actor Cosmo, who had a trainer on set the whole time, and apparently he's an actor dog. Also if you look on Letterboxd, Cosmo the dog has 2 films logged. It is Beginners and Hotel for Dogs. And when I was younger, I had a DVD of Hotel for Dogs, and I watched it multiple times. I wouldn't consider myself like a dog person. I've never had a dog. I haven't been around dogs too much of my life. But when I was a kid, I saw Hotel for Dogs, and I was like, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And so I've seen it many times. And I guess Cosmo, he might have been the main dog in that. I don't know. He's definitely in Hotel for Dogs, at least. As a official Letterboxd credit. So, but yeah, I think the dog Arthur was a very, very important character, because you have those moments where Ewan McGregor is talking to the dog. I guess I'll kind of get into that whole component now, because I think it was a pretty major part of the movie. So when you have Ewan McGregor, this character, post Christopher Plummer's character death, all that he had left from his father, I guess not all, there were some possessions and everything, but like the one living thing that he kind of left behind was his dog Arthur. And throughout the movie, you have Arthur subtitled speaking to Ewan McGregor, and there's a few things that I could think these speeches mean. I think the one thing that it could mean is that he's talking to his dad. It could be seen as him. He's talking to his dad, kind of telling him his feelings of what he's going through. And I don't know. I don't know if the dog's dialogue is exactly what he think his father would say, but that's one way of thinking about it. And I thought it made sense because he wanted to connect with his father after his father came out, and it kind of felt like he didn't have enough time to, because you had him pass away so quickly after he came out. After knowing him for like his whole lifetime, kind of living a different life. And he felt like comparatively, that's just the point of where he came out. He didn't have that much time to connect with him, so it's kind of him trying to hold on to that and connect with him a little more, because you had moments where Hal was like, oh, he was talking to Oliver about relationships, and I guess he wasn't really having too many in that point of his life, but now he has one that he really cares about, so he's trying to share his feelings with his father. That could be one thing. But also, I think it could also just be that the dog represents his own voice, and kind of, because I believe he was dressed as Freud, or that's just what I thought he was dressed as at the beginning of the movie, that the dog could kind of represent the id. You know, if we were thinking about the in a Freudian sense, that the dog could represent the id, kind of like his deep primal emotions, that because the dog is always like, oh, I hope this feeling lasts. Are we married yet? That was a big thing. And then when they kind of separate, he was like, oh, we never knew this, or we knew this was never going to last. It's kind of the one that is trying to make him feel better, justify his raw feelings, and kind of his way of the when Oliver talks to his dog, those are his kind of things that he doesn't want to say, but is actually thinking. So the structure of the movie that I'm seeing, if we're thinking about it of this interpretation, would be the dog is the id, Oliver himself is the superego, and the film is the ego. I know it's normally that the ego is kind of the mix of the superego and the id, but I think in this context, you would have Oliver as the superego, which is the one that tries to rationalize everything and kind of compromise between the two, whereas the ego is the morally right one, the one who is thinking about things like too logically. I feel like I haven't studied this enough. I remember taking a class that talked about this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it felt like that way because you did have Oliver as kind of an unreliable narrator throughout the movie. You had moments where he was like, oh, even in the trailer, there was the moment where, oh, I remember him coming out to me in this purple sweater, but really he was wearing this. And I guess that kind of just gets you thinking of how much he kind of filtered his memories, because most of the movie is his memories and his interpretation of what happened. So it could just be a lot of him interpreting what happened, and that's what we're seeing rather than what actually happened. Just a thought. And so you would have the film as the ego, kind of the merging of the id and the superego being the more neutral, compromising, kind of showing you exactly what he thinks, but also having that way of us, because the nature of film, you have the audience is able to kind of interpret it and see if they want to poke holes in the story and kind of, yeah. It's a weird theory, and I'm not sure I completely understand what I'm saying, but it would be cool if it made sense. And so we're just going to go with that. But yeah, I like the dog talking a lot. When it first came up, I laughed. It was, I am a dog. I only understand 150 words. Yeah, I liked him. He was very cute. And yeah, I think also one other thing, rather than like who the dog represents and everything, it also is just a device to show that Ewan McGregor's character always goes back to what's comfortable. Because you had so many moments where he's trying to go somewhere and then he drops off the dog at his friend's house, but the dog keeps barking and everything. He had to bring him to the party, everything like that. And he always ends up bringing him, except for at the very end when he finally broke free of his past, I guess his father. He's trying to get over his father. So yeah, every time he kept going back to what was comfortable, and that's kind of what he does in his relationships too, whereas when it gets too serious for him, he kind of retreats, and he essentially breaks off the relationship to go back to something more comfortable. Maybe not comfortable, but more familiar. And that's what that dog is. It's the one that's more familiar. Just read that Ewan McGregor got a dog of his own because he loved having Cosmo around so much. Oh, that is so cute. Yeah, I think I've never had a dog myself, but I feel like if there was a dog that you actually genuinely made a connection with, that would be such a great feeling. And yeah, this movie definitely has parts of that, because yeah, I've definitely seen people. I would be very scared to get a dog, because if you get a dog, that's just like the worst, you're just like stuck with it, you know? It's like such a gamble you have to take. But if you get a dog that is like super sweet and is like, yeah, it's every dog is different, so it's kind of just like a little weird to be like, oh, it's the dog's the worst and it sucks to have it now. But oh man, it must be so fulfilling when you get lucky and you have a dog that is super nice. Because yeah, this movie is definitely one of those pieces of media where I'm like, oh, I would love to have a dog. But who knows? Maybe one day. I don't know. My family's like never had any pets, so who knows? Okay. Let's move on to talking about one of the style components that I wanted to talk about was that the moments in the movie where it's the montages of the narration. So there's segments where he's narrating and he says things like, "This is the sky in 2003. This is the president in 2003. This is what this looked like at this time, blah, blah, blah," things like that. They have those moments. And then you have the moments where he's like showing, I guess kind of similarly to that, you have the things where he's showing like, oh, this is Anna when she's happy. This is Anna when she's sad. There's just so many of these moments of montages with the added narration. And then you have that part. The one that really stuck out for me was when he kind of just went to colors. And then he had you just had words, adjectives describing each of the colors. I remember one of them was like melancholy, things like that. And I feel like I really, really liked these sequences because it felt like Mike Mills, as a graphic artist, it was kind of just like his mood board. And I think overall, what I got from this movie as an artist, kind of the main point that I'm thinking about it is like, it's Mike Mills's way of, oh, sorry, I've just realized this dog has been on the screen the whole time. It's Mike Mills's way of taking all of these little moments, whether they be actually that ones that actually happened or fictional ones, but taking all of these important moments that happened and trying to make sense of it. And that's kind of what Ewan McGregor's character is doing as well, right? So he has his history of sadness thing that he's trying to put together, and he's trying to just figure out how it works and everything. He's looking into it like there's some special meaning to it. And so I think that Mike Mills, because he does have a background in graphic design and music videos, it's a way of him. He took the feeling of his grief. He took every moment that he experienced that he thought had some meaning, but he wasn't sure of what the meaning was, and he put it in this film. And I think that's what some artists do, right? You take things that you think, or not that you think that they have meaning, but you know they have meaning, but you're not sure why. So you take those moments and you put them all together and try to string them together and try to make some sort of whole that justifies the feeling that you're having. And sometimes, like, yeah, still at the end, it's not a concrete answer, but this amalgamation of everything kind of, it makes a whole. In this case, it makes a movie, and it's telling you exactly how Mike Mills felt or what he wanted the audience to feel with this movie. Does that make any sense? Because I feel like many of these moments in this movie, probably some of them actually happened. And so he was like, okay, so this moment, maybe it was his father talking about nightclub dancing. Maybe it was just those moments of the mother being sad after the father kissed her when he went off to work. He put those together because he knew that they weighed on him for some reason, and he put them all together, and he's trying to make sense of it, and maybe trying to find patterns. Maybe you could find patterns in the way people were acting, in the way you were feeling. But yeah, I like that approach a lot. I just exactly like I was saying, I don't know what I'm trying to point out with this, but it definitely made me think. It made me feel, and yeah, that's just my rambling thoughts on how this was all put together with the narration and everything, because I really, really did like the moments of narration, and I don't know why, but I don't know why you would think to put those in your screenplay. Like, what what are they trying to add? I can't come to a conclusion of what exactly they're trying to add. Maybe it's like they're just trying to set up the context. They're trying to set up the dichotomies of what it was like back then versus what it was like now. Like, I don't know what it means that he remembers his grandfather, or not his grandfather, his father coming out to him in this sweater, but really it was this sweater. Like, it feels like it means something, but I don't know what it means. And who knows? Maybe it just makes it feel more authentic. Feels like it was more of a real person. Maybe it's Ewan McGregor's character being like, maybe it's just establishing he's an unreliable narrator. Maybe it's him feeling like so many things has changed. At that point when he came out, he still saw him as his father who was married to his mother. But now with all of his different experiences with his father post him coming out, he sees it differently through his clothes. That could be a thing. But yeah, I think the fractured narrative / adding of these montages is what made this movie elevate from just a typical drama, romance thing, indie kind of vibe to something more meaningful. So yeah, I really like that. I really liked also the piano music. That's the one type of music I remember the most in this movie. I feel like I'm trying to remember the exact score. I feel like it was mostly piano music. I know there might have been a few other moments, but the piano music definitely elevated that indie feel. And it was very like soothing, very melancholy. It's like nice to listen to, but it kind of does elevate the drama. And so it's like, house music too, of course. There was that brief instance of house music, and that was essential to the plot and the experience. So yeah, that was great. I like that scene because you see him talking about going to a club first time and how like happy he was after that, giving the phone call to Oliver. But then we see him actually in the club and he's kind of just sitting there by himself. But still, he was happy to experience it. That was another one of those moments where it's like, oh, one of those, don't know why this hits hard, but it does. Him not actually, maybe it's another one of things in his brain. He's trying to say, okay, I'm not going to be sad anymore and not regret anything. I'm going to go do the things that I want to do. And no matter the outcome, I'm going to think about it positively. But, and maybe with that mindset, things do become more positive in your actual psyche. But, yeah, that was another one of those moments. But, I was also thinking, what does Beginners, the title, mean? When I thought of this, I was like, there's the moment in Guardians of the Galaxy where Peter Quill is like, guys, we're all just a bunch of losers. No, we're all just like people who have lost things. So I'm like, is this kind of that scenario? Are they all just, guys, we're all just a bunch of beginners. We're a bunch of people who began things. Something like that. So it's like Ewan McGregor began this relationship, and because of that, he kind of, it was different than his other relationships, and he began loving people different. I don't know. You have the Christopher Plummer beginning his life as a gay man rather than being married his whole life. You have Melanie Laurent's character beginning to, again, get in a relationship that is fulfilling. Is it a movie about new beginnings? Everybody just like the beginning of different relationships? Because you could have the relationship with Ewan McGregor and his father feeling new, a new beginning. Because I guess it kind of does rewrite his whole perception of his family because, yeah, he had that whole time in his life with his father and his mother. Now this is completely new. It's a new beginning. Any thoughts, Lisa? Do you know why it's called Beginners? Because, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a fitting title. I like the title. But again, I don't know why. I think it's about how they all had new starts and new outlooks and perspectives on their relationships and on life. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All the events in the movie kind of, yeah, gave them new perspectives on everything. Everyone who influenced Oliver gave him more perspective. So you had, yeah, his father coming out as gay, giving him a new perspective on his whole family, on how relationships can be. And then Melanie Laurent's character gave him new perspective on relationships when you have somebody else who is also somebody who kept on retreating from previous relationships. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good explanation of it. But I would be curious. That would be one of the questions that I would ask at like a Q&A to Mike Mills. Like, what does this mean? And then he would be like such an artist, be like, it's up for your interpretation. I mean, I feel like I've definitely done that before. Made a film and then be like, oh no, I'm not going to answer that because, it's up to interpretation. And like I was saying before, maybe sometimes people just do that on purpose because they don't know and they just put a bunch of their feelings together. And they're like, the title Beginner sounds right. And doesn't want to explain themselves. But who knows? Alas. Yeah, I think that, what else do I want to talk about? This not being a rom-com, being a drom-rom. Wait. Rom-drom. I've been saying it weird this whole time. It's a movie about love, and it shows that I think a core to this, because you have Ewan McGregor's character kind of having this new perspective on all the relationships in his life and kind of seeing what Christopher Plummer's character went through, that it's showing love as more of a feeling, kind of as showing love as a feeling. Yeah, duh. More as a dance, I'll say. More as something less binary than it once was. Less concrete. And yeah, you had that with Hal, kind of just showing that he was trying to rediscover himself, and then Ewan McGregor's character trying to have a fulfilling relationship in his life and not being able to. And yeah, it's complicated. And I guess it kind of shows that in the structure of the movie as well, because it's not just straightforward chronological order. You have these scenes with these montages of just feelings and his thoughts. So I think the core of this movie is nothing makes sense, but everything makes sense. Does that make sense? That makes sense. Thank you. That is my very analytical analysis. Thank you, Blarg, for showing up. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this movie. It was good. At moments, it was kind of like roll your eyes romance stuff. But again, I forgot to say at the beginning, I chose this movie because, not for Valentine's Day, no, because we're celebrating the release of the rom-com Marry Me by J-Lo. And now I feel like I've done a disservice to Marry Me because I've chosen a rom-drom instead of a rom-com. So if you're watching this, J-Lo, I'm very sorry that we chose a rom-drom instead of a rom-com. But yeah, that's why we did this movie this week. It's in celebration of the 2022's best movie, Marry Me. So is Marry Me the film for next week? Everyone go out and watch Marry Me for next... No, Marry Me's not going to be the film for next week. Unless you really want it to be the movie for next week. But I don't have any particular desire to watch Marry Me. We already did a romance movie this week. We're gonna broaden our horizons in the future. I guess lastly on this topic, we'll probably wrap up in just a second. I'll try to just think of a few scenes that kind of stuck out to me, kind of in the spirit of how the movie was put together with a bunch of just thoughts and feelings. Here are some of the scenes that I wrote down that I just thought were the most impactful to me. So I really did like the part at the beginning, like I said before. Oh, and I guess I probably already brought up so many of these things while I was just speaking in general. Yeah, the party at the beginning definitely stood out. It was the meet cute, but it was a very well done meet cute moment, And like I said before, Hal calling Ewan McGregor being like, "Oh, I went to a nightclub, house music." That was a great moment. Another moment near the very end, you have him bringing the dog to see Andy again, and then Andy kind of tearing up when the dog comes and remembers him. He's like, oh, he remembers me. That was cute. And then also, I guess, when he comes back to get the dog, and he's like, oh, you never visit. Is it because I'm gay? And him be like, no, no, no. But that was another moment where it was like their relationship was very, yeah, it was, they definitely didn't connect as much as they could have, being, I guess, I know they weren't married, but he's kind of like his father's partner, so in a sense he's like stepfather, which is weird, but he's probably same age. That was another moment, yeah, that hit you in the feels. But the moment where Anna and Oliver are on the phone in the same hotel room, and they're kind of like playing that, they're kind of like fake talking on the phone, and Anna reveals to him that her dad is constantly calling her because he is suicidal. I guess they kind of have like opposite fathers, because you have Anna's character, whose father is kind of like brutally honest and is willing to say anything to her, saying to her constantly that he is suicidal, trying to connect with her constantly. And then you have Oliver's father, who lied to him throughout like the majority of his childhood about who he was and his relationship with his mother. So yeah, they kind of had these two father figures that were kind of, I don't want to say dishonest, but they're very impactful because of the way that they present themselves. They both got daddy issues. Yeah, that was another scene where it was like, ooh, definitely, yeah, it was an impactful one. You had the moment, the history of sadness was another one where it's like, he's such like a, I don't want to say pretentious artist, but that's such like a artist thing. And you have the moments where everybody's looking at his work that he's done, and they're all like, yes, yes, yes. And then in the end, they're like, I'm sorry, we just wanted a portrait. Come on, what are you doing? You have those moments, and you're like, oh, he just wants to be an artist and say what he feels. But here, let me bring it up. This is another thing where it's like, I don't know exactly what it means. The history of sadness. I'm trying to figure out exactly why it was. Oh, here, let me bring it up here. The history of sadness. Let's analyze the scene and try to see what we get from it. Earth begins. Sadness not yet invented. First couple to marry for the wrong reasons. Well, I guess this one's very obvious. Literally just his parents marrying for the wrong reasons. Invention of alcohol in ancient Egypt. This could be another moment where, this is my theory. This is my theory now. That Ewan McGregor character, Oliver, is a drunk. But because we're seeing the story from his perspective, he's not telling us this. And in all the flashbacks, he ruined his previous relationships because he was drinking all the time. That's why he put this in here. I don't know. Just a theory. Who's this? First gay man diagnosed as mentally ill. Pilgrims in the past and present. I think that's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. In this certain montage, I know he has that one part where it's like the booklet and it's like super long and laid out, but yeah, his main emotion is just sad. He's sad throughout the whole thing, and I don't know how to feel about this, because it's very, very rooted in his relationships and what actually happened in his life, and it's I feel weird saying it, but yeah, it's just very sad that it seems like because his father came out, because he has these moments where he's kind of happy for him, right? But it seems like because this is his artistic output, his outlet, it seems like it's bringing him a lot of grief and sadness in the end. The fact that their relationship, they were married for the wrong reasons, seemed to weigh on him a lot. And that, yeah, I guess depicted in this, I don't know exactly what this means, but his past has destroyed him so much that only a bit of him is left in the present. And it's kind of like the less important limbs, his whole Bart. I was trying to say body and then heart, and then I said Bart. Okay. His whole body, his whole heart, his whole brain, the important parts are already crushed, and then he's kind of just hanging on. I don't know. But yeah, I guess it is pretty sad that what he got most out of his father coming out was he was trying to see it under the happy lens that his father was, but in the end, it kind of just hurt him more than it did him good. Very sad. This movie's sad, and I didn't expect that going in. And so, like, yes, it was good. It was well made. It's not the kind of movie I wanted to watch, so I feel like that's what's leaving a bit of a sourness. But it was a good movie. It was well made. It felt very honest. It had some cute roll eye romance moments. But in the end, I don't have a desire to watch it again. I'll say that. But I guess lastly, there's also another moment we have, like when Christopher Plummer's character said there is no, or no, Ewan McGregor's character said there is no stage 5, and then Christopher Plummer's like, oh, what are these stages? They don't mean anything, or something like that. That was another moment where it's like, oh, he's trying to, you can tell exactly what's happening. Ewan McGregor's character is trying to see the reality of the situation. He's trying to justify it. He, if we're going along with my theory, is the super ego being like, this is bad, and he's not seeing it as literally anything else. And then you have his father who's trying to justify it and trying to make good of it. Which is, yeah. That's just, if that actually happened to Mike Mills, that, of course, it would be super, super heavy. And seeing somebody kind of lie to themselves for comfort, it's hard to go along with it because, you know, underlying everything is, yeah, his disease and death, and yeah, very sad. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna stop talking about this. It's a very sad movie. Wasn't expecting it. There were some happy, you know, lighthearted moments. I liked the style, which kind of made it a little happier. Yeah, the dog, very cute, very happy. In the end, on Letterboxd, I gave it a 4 out of 5, which is 8 out of 10. But again, like I always say, it's just a Letterboxd review. But I feel like the movie itself wasn't a sad movie. It was just upsetting because it was a portrayal of real life. I disagree. I think it was a sad movie. In the end, I think it was a sad movie. But it's not sad throughout. I think just the core of the movie. And thinking back on it, it's very... The things you think about the most are the sad moments. But saying that, it's the sad moments, but also Christopher Plummer's character is kind of projecting kind of the attitude that Mike Mills kind of seems to want people to get out of it, as in you kind of still have to smile and work things out. It's like, again, like I said before, nothing makes sense, but everything makes sense. So it's kind of in that nothing makes sense-ness. Very sad and hard to deal with, but things just happen, and life is the way it is. So, yeah, I don't know. Now I'm trying to think about it. Is it, like, super sad? Because, yeah, I mean, the relationship parts are very, like, it kind of is a lot of what we see in movies. The typical relationship where it's like you have the honeymoon phase where they're, like, super happy and everything. They're going rollerblading. They're going vandalizing things. And then you have the crash where it's like, she can't sleep. She's sleeping on the couch. She goes away, and then they're all super sad. And in the end, you don't know if they're gonna still continue to try it, but they're so broken. Yeah, it's kind of just showing that people are broken, and then eventually they'll try to be happy. But yeah. All right, I'm done talking about this. That's it. I liked it. I would recommend everybody see it once. I would recommend everybody seeing it once because I think it is very, very honest movie trying to represent some feelings from his real life, and which I very much respect. And yeah, the way he went about it as an artist was very cool, and makes you think about the creative process and everything. But yeah, all right, that was Beginners. yeah, if you have any last thoughts, feel free to let me know. But that is it. I enjoyed the movie. We're done. So, next week. I had a couple thoughts for next week. I was talking to somebody and they said they wanted to watch The Virgin Suicides, which I did want to watch as well, but it's not on any streaming service right now, unfortunately. I know it was on Prime for the longest time, and I was debating watching it, but it's not on there anymore, unfortunately. Or at least not unless you rent it. Yeah, it still is unprimable. So yeah, I would like to watch that one at some point. Maybe he gets back. I don't know if you're still there, Lisa. So here are a few others that I was thinking of. I was thinking of doing the original Planet of the Apes from 1968. I've seen parts of the movie, not the whole thing, and from the parts I saw, I really, really liked. Another thought could be Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I've never seen that movie. Let me look it up here. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. With, what's his face? Gary Oldman. I've heard good things about that as well. Let me bring it up here. This is an option. Honestly, I don't want to watch the trailer. But, in the bleak days of the Cold War, espionage veteran George Smiley is forced from semi-retirement to uncover a Soviet agent within MI6. Could be fun. A mystery drama. Seems cool. That was another option. Another option was a lower budget zombie movie that I saw on Prime that looked kind of interesting called The Night Eats the World. I don't know how big people are into zombie movies, but we haven't done a zombie movie here yet. And the closest thing to a horror movie we did was Dead Ringers. So, yeah, this one kind of seems cool too. Oh, is it French? Oh, it is French. That would be cool too. In the morning after a party, a young man wakes up to find Paris invaded by zombies. Could be cool. Yeah. Any thoughts? I don't know if you're still there, Lisa. Do you have any ideas yourself of what you would want to do for next week, or if anybody else is out there watching? Those are my thoughts right now. Planet of the Apes, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Night Eats the World. Obviously, Marry Me. Yeah. Maybe we'll save it for... Maybe when it's on Prime or something. We'll watch Marry Me. I feel like I heard something about that it's on a streaming service or something. Marry Me Online. Oh, it's on Peacock. I don't know what that is, really. Is that a Canadian thing? I don't know. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? All right. Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I've heard good things. I know a few of my friends have seen it. Let me see what people say on Letterboxd. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Yeah, it seems to have pretty decent reviews. Kind of middle of the road, but seems interesting. Has a very interesting title. But yeah, okay. I think we'll go with Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy for next week. We'll see how it is. I've been meaning to watch it for a while as well. It's one of those that's like, oh, you know, might as well, since we're here, try it out. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with Gary Oldman, Colin Firth, Tom Hardy, Mark Strong. All right, cool. John Hurt. This is for next week. I believe it is on Prime. Let me double check that real quick. Yes, it looks like it is on Amazon Prime. Okay, so if you would like to watch Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, it is available for free if you have an Amazon Prime subscription. That will be next week, and next week is the 21st of February. It's Family Day next week. Oh, I didn't even know that. I guess when you're in elementary and high school, you like know when every single PA day is. So you know when Victoria Day is. You know when Family Day is. But I didn't know next week was Family Day. All right, cool. But yeah, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy for next week.